star date 06 2022. I think today is June 20th. I hope I'm right. My video log number 8, my favorite number, and today's Monday. I wish all of you a great start of the week, a productive one and a fun one and a happy one. That don't ever be sad, because I sometimes goes into these emotional roller coaster rides, which I actually usually don't. I've been getting on that a lot more often lately because probably because I am trying to start my own business and the stress is real. Before, I think my life has always been fairly easy, not too stressful, or I dealt with the stress pretty well because it's just work. I can always kind of throw it off when I get out of work and don't have to worry about it. Nowadays, when you are trying to have your own business, it is on your mind 24/7. Let me just give you that. So I had a couple of things I want to talk about today. I actually had a Zoom call with the franchising consultant for the coffee franchise that I'm interested in, and basically he kind of went through the same thing that what we talked about on the phone call, except now he has a presentation, and he couldn't really share too much with me, I guess, because apparently there is no licensing that is approved yet in the state of Illinois for this particular franchise, so they are by law not enabled to release any financial information, meaning like they can't really sell you, right? They can't really tell you like how much money are you gonna make, how much money are you gonna make back, how many years does it take for you to get a return of your investment, etc., etc. So it was kind of boring for me because I kind of heard about it, and what really threw me off was like he asked me to tell him about myself again, which I'm like, but I already told you, last week. But anyways, maybe he got taken back. He didn't ask me anymore. So that is one thing. The other is something interesting fact or just interesting tidbit is that I listened to a YouTube video. It's a channel that I follow because they talk about really interesting, cool stuff. Sometimes more sci-fi, sometimes more fantasy, or it's just interesting topics that sometimes you don't hear about. And today the topic was about the missing fifth planet. And if you know me, if you're my friends, or maybe that I am super interested in astronomy, really anything that has to do with the sky, the creation of the universe, the galaxies, all the stars and whatnot. I should know more about it, but I am definitely very interested in it. Maybe my past life is a astrologist. Is that the right word for it? So yeah, and they talk about the missing planet, which is the fifth planet, due to there's a reason why they think there's a missing planet out there. It's basically they're talking about the planet that's missing between Mars and Jupiter, which is the fifth one, right? Earth is the third one, I guess. So they talk about the reason why they talk about this is that there's a scientist, and it's in Chinese, so I can't really translate the scientist's name. But this scientist was very good at calculating so he was able to, in his mathematical equation, he calculates the location of all of the planets in our solar system. And if you compare, he showed a chart, he compared to the actual distance to the sun, or from the sun, of our planets versus what he calculated and versus our actual location. There are to the T, like very, very accurate, maybe 0.01 difference. So however, because of that, in his calculation, he also says that there is, according to his calculation, there should be a planet that is between Mars and Jupiter, but it's not there. So physically we don't have one, but in his mathematical calculation says we should have one. So hence the missing planet. And there are a lot of people, a lot of different sectors of scientists that hypothesize of what happened to this fifth planet, right? One of them, so excuse me if I didn't remember it correctly, I might maybe do a little bit a different one later once I have time to look into it, again, gather all of the stats. But what I've heard is there is one that, because what happens is in the space of between Mars and Jupiter, there are a lot of space rocks and space dust. Supposedly those are the building blocks for a planetary, like planet, right? Or a star or some sort, or maybe more like a planet. However, one sector of scientists says because the size of Jupiter and because of Mars, that a planet is just not possible to form due to the gravitational pull of Jupiter that is so close, that because Jupiter's size of Jupiter is so big that it prevents from any planet from being formed because of its size and the effects of Jupiter to everything that's around him, right? Which, I mean, that's just my opinion. It doesn't really make sense in a way, because if you think about the planet that's after Jupiter, it's obviously smaller than Jupiter, but it still exists. So it is possible to have a planet in the next lineup. So why not before, right? So, and it could be a bigger planet too. So I don't know. So the other sector of scientists are more of the, maybe you might think that's more of the, what do they call that sector where people are more into the theories of aliens, right? Extraterrestrial beings, that what they talked about was a being that lived in a different galaxy before, where there was peace-loving, and then there was another species that was more warlike, and they call that the lizard people. I think some of you might have heard of that from other points or other stories. That there are these lizard people who are more warlike, and they like to conquer and take over different planets. So, and what happened was these lizard type species people went and conquered these peace-loving people, and they have to flee, right? So they had to flee, and what they did is they went to our solar system, and they actually split into two groups, and one group is settled on Mars, and the other group settled on that missing planet right next to Mars. And what happened was that the difference between those two groups of people, was that one retained the peace-loving nature of those people. So what they did is they built a defense mechanism, meaning they built a underground shelter in the middle of the of Mars, and beneath the surface for shelter, just in case if there's any war that might happen. And then the other who settled on the fifth planet, that they went more of a warlike, that they built their defense system, they built their attacks just so that they can fight the lizard people when they come across. So obviously the lizard people found them, right? And what they did is they sent across a ice planet, across the wormhole that they invented, to actually more directed to hit, I forgot which planet it was trying to hit, but they were trying to hit one of the planets. And obviously I think that's the planets that they lived in. And what happened was, as the planet approached, the ice planet approached the fifth planet actually just, because of the pressure and everything, it exploded and into little pieces. And Mars, in turn, because of the impact near them through that collision, the water evaporated or was wiped out from the surface of the planet. And what happens is that the people who lived in Mars, they had to retreat into their underground shelter to live there. And the lizard people who were on the ice planet, I know this sounds like a story and I can't really prove any of that, but that's just a theory. And what happens is that they came across and they settled into a different planet as well, which I don't remember when. So that's another meaning that the planet actually existed before and it was just destroyed. I think there's another hypothesis that of how that there was a fifth planet that actually existed but was destroyed in the process. So yeah, so it's actually, I think the moral was, it's a very interesting story, because we as humans, we do try to explain many occurrences that happens around us by using logic and perhaps formulas and equations and mathematical means and whatnot. And we find that there are situations that we really can't explain, so we try to explain it with other hypotheses. So unless we can prove all of that, all of these are just hypotheses and theories that we listen to. But it's something interesting. It's really cool. I never really knew that there was a fifth planet, even because they talk about finding the ninth planet more far reach, further beyond Uranus. But I haven't thought about this fifth planet that, maybe we'll add it to about 10 planets in our solar system. I hope that's right. Yeah, so that's it for today. Thought you enjoyed this little side story that I read about this morning, and I will see you guys tomorrow.